Imagine walking down a busy street. When a poor beggar boy looks straight at you and says, "Sir, I can make your daughter walk again." Impossible, right? That's exactly what happened to Keanu Reeves, world-famous actor, beloved by millions, yet heartbroken because his little girl had been in a wheelchair for years. What followed was a story of faith, courage, and a miracle that no amount of money or fame could ever buy. The boy introduced himself as Arjun. His voice was soft but steady, carrying a kind of quiet confidence that didn't match his ragged appearance. Keanu studied him carefully, still uncertain, while curious bystanders lingered nearby, whispering about the strange scene unfolding before them. Arjun lowered his gaze respectfully and began to speak, his words deliberate and heartfelt. He explained that he wasn't just an ordinary beggar. Behind the dirt on his face and the patches on his clothes was a story deeper than anyone could imagine. "My grandfather," Arjun said, "was a village healer in India. People came from faraway places to see him when modern medicine could not help. He used ancient knowledge methods passed down through generations to treat those who had been given up on. Before he died, he taught me everything he knew." Keanu listened, his mind torn between disbelief and curiosity. Could there really be truth in the boy's claim? Arjun continued, his eyes glistening with sincerity. "I may look poor, sir. I may not have money, fine clothes, or a home. But I have knowledge. I have healed injured animals on the streets, dogs who could not walk, birds who could not fly. People may laugh at me, but I have seen life return where there was none." His small hands trembled slightly as he placed them over his chest. "I do not ask for riches. I do not ask for anything, except one chance. Please, let me try. Let me help your daughter." For a moment, silence hung heavy between them. Keanu felt the weight of the boy's words pressing against the doubts in his mind. His logical side screamed against it. "This is impossible," he thought. "How could a child who lives on the streets succeed where the most brilliant doctors in the world have failed?" He remembered the long nights in hospitals, the countless treatments Lily endured, and the heartbreak of hearing the same answer again and again. There is nothing more we can do. Could he risk putting his daughter through false hope again? Could he allow a stranger, a beggar boy, to step into her fragile world? But then Keanu's eyes shifted to Lily. She had been quietly observing the exchange, her small hands folded on her lap. And now, for the first time in years, there was a spark in her eyes, a light of hope that had long been dimmed by disappointment. She was smiling at Arjun, a soft, innocent smile that said more than words ever could. Keanu's chest tightened. He realized it wasn't just about science or logic anymore. It was about faith, about the possibility of a miracle, no matter how unlikely. He closed his eyes briefly, whispering to himself as though seeking permission from his own heart. "What do I have to lose?" When he opened them, Keanu met Arjun's determined gaze. The boy was waiting, ready, unwavering. And in that moment, Keanu made a choice that would change all of their lives forever. Keanu invited Arjun into his home the very same evening. Many would have hesitated, but something about the boy's eyes so filled with conviction convinced him to take the chance. Lily, shy at first, warmed to Arjun almost instantly. There was something comforting in his presence, something that made her feel safe. Over the next few days, the boy worked tirelessly with her. Each morning, just after sunrise, Arjun would arrive at their doorstep, his bare feet dusty from the walk, yet his spirit unwavering. He carried no medical bag, no equipment, only the teachings his grandfather had entrusted to him. He began with gentle massages, pressing his small but skillful hands against Lily's legs, loosening the stiffness that had built up over the years. His touch was careful, almost reverent, as though he believed her body could hear him. At times he would hum softly, and at other times He whispered chants in a language Keanu did not understand, ancient words his grandfather had told him carried healing energy. But what stood out most were Arjun's words of encouragement. He spoke to Lily with a confidence that even seasoned doctors often lacked. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Lily tried, but her legs remained weak and unresponsive. Keanu's heart ached as he watched, the hope he had allowed himself to feel beginning to fade. Doubts crept in. Had he made a mistake? Was this only giving Lily false hope? But Arjun never wavered. He refused to give up. Every day he returned, patiently repeating the exercises, massaging her legs, guiding her movements, and speaking to her as though he already saw her walking. His determination was stronger than his small frame suggested. And most importantly, he never once asked for money. He never hinted at reward. All he asked for was trust. Then, one morning, the miracle began. Arjun held Lily's hands gently, guiding her forward as he always did. This time, something felt different. Lily's arms trembled as she pressed down, her legs quivered, and suddenly, slowly, she began to rise. Her body shook with the effort, but she pushed herself up until she was standing. Lily's face lit up with joy. She giggled nervously, then took one shaky step forward. She stumbled, but Arjun caught her. Another step, another stumble. And then laughter filled the room, her laughter, pure and free, echoing like music Keanu thought he'd never hear again. Within weeks, the impossible became reality. Lily was walking across the living room, falling, standing, and trying again. Her confidence grew with every step. Soon she was no longer just walking, she was running short distances, her laughter chasing away years of sorrow. For Keanu, it was as if the weight of the world had been lifted. The miracle he had prayed for, the miracle he thought was impossible, had happened, delivered not by a world-renowned doctor, but by a boy who once begged on the streets. News of the incident spread quickly. Neighbors whispered about it, and soon the story began to make its way through social circles. Everyone was curious to know how a poor boy from the streets had managed to achieve what even the most celebrated doctors couldn't. But Keanu Reeves, true to his humble nature, refused to let it turn into a media spectacle. This wasn't about headlines or interviews. It wasn't about fame, money, or proving anyone wrong. For Keanu, it was about something much deeper: gratitude. One evening, as the sun dipped low behind the Hollywood Hills, painting the sky with shades of orange and gold, Keanu sat quietly in his garden. Beside him was Arjun, no longer just the boy on the corner, but a part of the family's life. Lily was nearby, chasing a ball across the grass, her laughter ringing out like the sweetest melody Keanu had ever heard. Turning to Arjun, Keanu's eyes filled with emotion. His voice was soft, yet heavy with meaning. "You've given me something no doctor, no money, no fame could ever give me. You gave me back my daughter's future." Arjun looked down shyly, a faint smile touching his lips. He wasn't used to praise. To him, what he had done wasn't about glory or recognition. It was about using the gift his grandfather had passed down to him. "Your kindness gave me the courage to speak," Arjun replied gently. "If you hadn't listened to me that day, none of this would have happened. This miracle. It began with your heart." Keanu was moved beyond words. For years he had been carrying the burden of helplessness, but this boy had lifted it with nothing more than determination, compassion, and belief. From that day forward, Keanu made it his mission to ensure Arjun's life changed forever. He arranged for the boy to have a proper home, a safe place to sleep, food on the table, and clothes that fit him. He enrolled Arjun in school, making sure he received the education every child deserves. But more than that, he gave Arjun the opportunity to dream beyond survival. The poor beggar boy who had once been invisible to the world was invisible no more. Arjun was no longer just a face in the crowd. He was the boy who gave a millionaire something priceless, the gift of hope and the return of a daughter's laughter. For Keanu, the memory of that first encounter never faded. Every time Lily ran across the yard, every time she laughed until her cheeks turned red, every time she held his hand and said, "Daddy, watch me," he remembered. He remembered the trembling voice that had stopped him on a busy Los Angeles street. He remembered the spark of confidence in the boy's eyes. And most of all, he remembered the sentence that had frozen him in place and changed his life forever. "Sir, I can make your daughter walk again." Keanu knew that miracles often come in the most unexpected forms. He had always believed in kindness, in humility, and in the idea that every human being has value no matter how the world sees them. But never in his life had this belief been proven so powerfully. Every time he looked at Arjun, he didn't see a beggar anymore. He saw a boy with wisdom far beyond his years. A boy who carried the legacy of his grandfather's healing hands. A boy who, despite having nothing, chose to give everything. What struck Keanu the most was that Arjun had never once asked for payment. No demands, no conditions, no selfish motives. All he had asked for was a chance. In a world where people so often chase money, fame, and recognition, here was a child who asked for none of it, yet gave more than anyone else ever could. Keanu often thought back to that evening on the street corner. What if he had walked past without stopping? What if he hadn't dropped those bills into the tin can? What if he hadn't listened to the boy's bold words? His life and Lily's would still be trapped in despair. It reminded him of something his late mother used to say, "Never ignore a voice, no matter how small, for it may carry the answer to your greatest prayer." From then on, Keanu didn't just help Arjun with education and a home, he became a mentor, a protector, and almost a father figure to the boy. Arjun quickly blossomed in his new environment. With proper food, care, and learning, the fragile beggar boy began to look like the child he truly was, hopeful, intelligent, and full of promise. But Arjun never forgot where he came from. He continued to practice his grandfather's healing methods, learning, refining, and even helping other children in the community who struggled with physical challenges. Keanu often watched in awe, realizing that this boy was destined to touch many more lives than just his own. And for Keanu, this entire journey became a reminder of what really matters in life. Fame, wealth, red carpets, and flashing cameras, they were fleeting. But the sound of his daughter's footsteps, the sight of her chasing butterflies in the garden, and the echo of her laughter as she called out, "Daddy," those were treasures no money could ever buy. Sometimes, late at night, Keanu would stand by Lily's bedroom door, watching her sleep peacefully. And in the stillness of those moments, he would whisper a silent thank you to fate, to his late mother's wisdom, and above all, to a boy named Arjun who had the courage to speak when no one else would. "Sir, I can make your daughter walk again." And every time he remembered, his heart filled with gratitude, not just for his daughter's restored future, but for the reminder that miracles don't always arrive in shining packages. Sometimes they come in the form of a poor boy on a street corner carrying the power to change the world. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories like this and hit the bell icon so you never miss a moment of inspiration. Thank you for watching, and remember, miracles can come from the most unexpected places.